Hello, I'm Dynast Amir.
What's up, Newt?
Yo, yo. Like I said, bring it over to the motherland. That's how we do it.
Yes, sir.
Well, I ain't gonna lie. It's like I said.
Some blessings to everyone here.
Peace and blessings.
Yeah, I know we all are having a very good time, right? And it is very honorable that I'm being given the privilege to do an exposition of Sierra Leone's history, right, to this august body. So, as you're here today, it is not by Almighty said, this will be so. So, as they said, it is coming to pass, right? So your presence here is no mistake. You are here intentionally by the Almighty and the ancestors. So, my elders here permit me to do this synoptic analysis of Sierra Leone's history. Okay, so it is very important because that we are starting history in this program today. It is important because history is the manifest function for why we are here. If it wasn't for history, we would have not been here, right? So let us understand that as well in context. So my presentation will be brief, but very essential to the soul and to our beings as a people. We'll have like the whole day just talking about Sierra Leone history, right? But we don't have time. But I know as we go, people will catch up and do their own research as well. But we're starting with about MRC. So Monument Release Commission was created in 1946 by an ordinance, which meant that they were given the mandate by the state to preserve and conserve our heritage. And when I say heritage, I mean in broad context, meaning that our natural and cultural heritage of builds, monuments, and other things. So, if a lot of people hear about Monuments and Relics Commission, some people might think, why is Monuments and Relics Commission facilitating diaspora citizenship for the Afro diaspora? It is very simple. Because we have a role as well to preserve our natural assets. And you people are the natural assets of this country. So you guys are our responsibility to preserve and bridge whatever disconnections that have happened over time, right? So that's why our mandate is identifying those important examples, and there are a lot of important examples, and we all have a responsibility, not just me, but that's why I say our collective heritage. So I want us to first of all understand why we're here. So the topic here today, this morning, is the role of history in deepening our heritage connections. Right? So it is because we've paid primacy to history, that's why we're here. A lot of us have done some investigation. That's why we're here, and we're here to reclaim that birthright that we say we all have to this nation. Right? So I would say our collective history is so deep and extensive. And that's why, if you are in Sierra Leone today, you notice a variation and layers of different history meeting at one point in this small country. If you go back to the histories of ancient Sudani kingdoms, from ancient Ghana, Mande, which is Mali Empire, to Songhai Empire, you understand that at every given point of the ancient kingdoms that existed in this region that you call Sudan or Land of the Blacks, Sierra Leone had always been a portion of these ancient kingdoms. So as we had disruptions and attack on these kingdoms, people were moving. And as you land at the airport and coming into Freetown or coming into Sierra Leone, you notice that Sierra Leone is at the edge in the rainforest. So as attacks were happening in those kingdoms, people were finding refuge in this space that you see today. So that's why you have a very cultural mosaic of people from different spaces around the world. So even if we come to modern history, you see after the transatlantic enslavement and repatriation, you see scattered people across the world again coming into this small space known as Freetown. But I want to make this very clear. Like I said, we have layers of history. We're talking about civilization, we're talking about social and cultural structure to the evolutions, the disruptions, colonization, strive to decolonization. All of these is what form what you know today as the modern Sierra Leone, right? So for instance, what you know today as Sierra Leone is a modern construct. So it boils back to the fact that our history is not transatlantic enslavement history. Or our history did not start with transatlantic slave trade. Our history is deeper than the transatlantic, it's even older than all of those. So if we start our history with transatlantic enslavement of African people, what we are doing a misnomer to our authentic history. So it is very significant, right? Because there were civilizations here before you had European exploration. And the state that you see is because indigenous Sierra Leoneans, after Atlantic slave trade, colonialism, some other Sierra Leoneans sat indigenously and said they are striving for the reclamation of their authority for statehood. So that's why you have independence. So if today you hear some people say Sierra Leone is celebrating 62 years in independence, the nation of itself, Sierra Leone, is not 63 years, right? It is the strive or the resolve of Sierra Leoneans saying they want to take back their authority and lead themselves, is that we call it 63 years. So let us understand that as well in context, right? And then we come to, if we have this modern state, where are we coming from? Because it is significant that most of our pre-colonial history is not being taught a lot. So that's why you have the confusion. So in spaces like this, and as our brothers and sisters return to the motherland, it is important that they engage with us so that we can match and explain our history from our own point of view and our perspective. Remember, history is narrative based. So, and as history is narrative based, there are certain people that need to take the mantle and responsibility to demystify the myth that you had over time. And it's important that you get those demystification on the ground. Some people are making the motherland for the first time. They've had a lot of things. Some people even say we sleep on trees, right? But I don't know where the tree is because I've never slept on one. so you see, but it comes to the fact that tribes are pre-colonial tribes. The Mende people, the Temini people, the Mande people, the Baga people, the Bulon, the Shabros, the Timinis, the Locos, the Yalonkas, the Kurankos, the Soninke. All of these form what we know today as Sierra Leone. And each and every one of them have
diverse cultural or diverse practices and living patterns. And that's what you form as the huge bulk or generally known as culture. So the issue is, most times people say we don't have many cultures in Africa. Right? We don't have many cultures in Africa. What we have is we have many lives and living patterns of the people. And that's where diversity comes from. And those diversity come into one, they form what you know today as the way of life. Culture is the way of life. But if you don't have those ways, practices, the primary beliefs, norms, political systems, structures within that original roots or mother culture, then you have no culture. So as early, these people have built civilizations. So for instance, you talk about the Pullums, original indigenous coastal people. As early as in the 1400s, when the Portuguese came down to this place, they met the Pullums on the coast. They took their creativity, took it to Portugal, to the house of the kings that we've seen salt cellars. I know if you heard about Normally, people say Normalies were built by ETs, right? Extraterrestrial beings. But they were built by my ancestors. Living ancestors of the people, the Mende people. So you have that life from Sierra Leone onto Liberia. So the Normalies are older. You have years BC, that is before Christ. So if Normalies were built by my people as spiritual systems, as ways to aid them in getting agricultural produces and ways to exchange for the economic viability of the people, it shows the level of artistic creativity of the people at that time as early as that period. So civilization, that's what you call civilization, right? And you had the Timini people as well. So I know most of you guys trace your lines along these tribal ethnic origins in Sierra Leone. So it's important that you start knowing them and you start understanding the value they place on themselves so that you don't mistake to devalue your own culture based on another culture. Right? So as a Mende man, you should know some of the rubrics of Mende Dom. Timini man, you should know the rubrics of Timini Dom. All of these other tribes, because they all have significant life and living patterns. That if you are coming into this society and reclaiming your birthright, it is important that you engage with your people from the grassroots and don't help them, build with them. Right? They don't need help from you. They need you building with them. So we have the Limbas and we have the Creole. I might talk a little bit about the Creole because it is important, right? After the abolition of the transatlantic slave trade in 1807, what the British started thinking about, because colonialism started in Sierra Leone in the 1700s. So from 1787, when they brought the first set of black people that they refer to as black Poors from England, colonialism started in Sierra Leone. So colonialism started in Sierra Leone through the Sierra Leone Company or St. George's Bay Company, and then it became Sierra Leone Company, chartered from the Crown. And then in 1808, the company gave Sierra Leone to the Crown, now the British Empire. So it meant that all orders on this soil were taken from the British Crown, right? So that's when colonialism really started. And as the first group came, they merged with their people. The second group came from Nova Scotia. They merged with their people. The third group came, the Maroons, who had done a lot of problems to emancipate themselves as far as in the Caribbean, Jamaica, exiled in Canada and then brought to Freetown in 1800. And they had the largest and last group known as the recaptives. So it was the recaptives who had liberated Africans that that did not go across the Atlantic because they had West African Squadron on the seas. They said, okay, you come here. So they started an admiralty course, and once you come, that means you are fine, and they empty those people here. So these were liberated Africans or recaptives, and they were Africans. So as far as going to Congo, people were coming from Congo to this location. Today you walk around Freetown, somebody will tell you, are you going to Congo town? It's because that place was settled by people that came from Congo, right? So the Kru people from Liberia, I know some people have their ancestry traced to Kru people from Liberia. So the first set of Kru people that came here was in 1793 from Liberia to come down here and start working with the Sierra Leone company at the wharf because they knew how to navigate the waters of Africa. So they came, and now this group as well is part of all of the tribal ethnic variations in Sierra Leone. And all of these people margin. So whether you came from the United States at the time, you came from the Caribbean, all of the spaces in the Caribbean as far as Carriacou, Grenada, all of them, Barbados, all that space in Jamaica, they came down here. What they did, they forged themselves. So in 19th century, they created a community with their indigenous people that did not go across the Atlantic. They merged and formed the Creole community, right? So I want to let you in a secret. It's very difficult if somebody traces their ancestry and they say you are from the Creole tribe of Sierra Leone. Do you know why? Huh? Fine. So the issue is no Creole man was taken as enslaved African. Yeah, no Creole man was taken. So it is Mende, Timini, Baga, all of the tribes in Africa that went when the Europeans said we are repatriating you back. When they came, they forged this community. So sometimes I would rather say you are Sierra Leonean Creole because this is also a variation. Because there are people there are Spanish Creoles, right? There are French Creoles. So people coming from Haiti, they speak French Creole. And that is not Sierra Leonean Creole. So to say that Creole is borrowed tribes, is a language borrowed from all of these other spaces, is also devaluing the tribe itself. Devaluing the tribe itself. But this is how, like I said, this is how we started returning. So as we are here in 2023, remember, and that's how history or why history is important to this deepening of connections. Remember that from the ages, our people had always took hold of the generational responsibility to return back to the motherland. So you are not the first, and it will not stop with you. It will not stop with you. There are people that left all of the largesse of the US, Europe, and other spaces and said, I'm going to return here and work with the people. So if some of the people that come from South Carolina and Georgia or the Gola Geechee Cultural Heritage Corridor, Edward Jones was the first black principal of Froabe College, the oldest Western-style university on the continent. Edward Jones is Gola from South Carolina, Charleston area. He left all of the riches of his parents and said, I'm coming down to Africa. Remember, this is the first black graduate from Amherst University. So he would have said, okay, I'll be there. So you see the repatriation cycle over time. And this is to tell us that we have to take responsibility in bridging the disconnections. Because some of the things you see here are not what those that have not made the trip see. So it is also your responsibility, our responsibility. That's why I don't say it is your heritage or the Sierra Leoneans' heritage. What I'll say, we are a collective heritage. Because some of the things that we do here as a people, you do there as well. whether subconsciously or consciously, you are doing cultural memory. What our ancestors went there, the impact they made, the value they brought to the US, some of you guys here today are creating that same value on that side, which to tell you that there is still cultural memory. So if anybody tell you that all of what you know across the Atlantic is land culture on that side, tell that person that you are lying. I did not learn the culture here from any other person. I learned the culture from the ancestors because they brought a cultural memory. And those cultural memories, they've translated or transferred over time. And that's why, if you are here today, it's because of those cultural memories that I have a place that I can go to and people accept me. And Sierra Leone has created that pathway, authentic cultural pathway for the Afro diaspora reclamation of their birthright. So this is not just a tourism trip or coming to look at things in Sierra Leone. You are making a spiritual journey. You are making a cultural journey. You are making an emancipatory journey, not just coming to relax. This is not a relaxation moment. There are lots in our heads, there are a lot in our hands as a people. So the Sierra Leone government is doing all they can. And you are not divorced from that source of what the Sierra Leone government is doing. Because if you divorce yourself from the source, it's a problem. It's a problem. So you know that I have a space, and all of this knowledge gained over time, I can come down, meet my people, we all sit engaged, put our hands together, let us dirty our hands and build. There are a lot of progress going on in Sierra Leone. We all can walk along those lines and aid the government with whatever expertise we have. That's how history is going to be televised by you, not another person, because you are using our empirical evidences to showcase how deep in this historical connection is. So we say Sierra Leone as a melting pot. A lot of things that have contributed to Sierra Leone as a melting pot. So we've taken a deep ride journey, and we are still in that melting pot. So for instance, I said the Christian institution that later became Frobe College started in 1814 here. Frobe College started in 1827, meaning that as Frobe College as an educational institution started in 1827, it meant that the whole of this sub-region, everybody was coming into this space to get knowledge. So that's why Sierra Leone or Freetown via Frobe College was referred to as the Athens of West Africa. So just like students of the old were going into Kemet to get education, or we're going into Athenian Greece, where academy started with Socrates and others, who were students in Kemet as well, right? It meant that everybody was running. So compare now Athens, which is known as one of the cradles of academy, Freetown being compared to Athens, or Freetown being compared to Kemet, of Freetown being compared to the Sankore University in Timbuktu, right? So it shows you that there were a lot of people, scholars were coming here, and even information of what they did as a people for the decolonization process of West Africa and Africa as a whole. Some of these debates started within these universities. So your centrality of history in your return journey, it's very important. As significance of your homecoming is that majority of you, before even touching the motherland, had high hopes of rebuilding a familiar bridge that I know you all have in your mind. Just by your presence here, you are bridging the gap. So you have to take that very seriously, right? So you are not no longer being told about history, you are living history as you are down here, right? The Creoles normally say, "Famble tick, they bend, but you know they broke." In translation, in English it is, family ties, there will be challenges, there will be bends, there will be curves, but the family trees never break. Which is to tell you that, however, so the disconnections of the Atlantic should not be a barrier, right? Heritage knows no boundary. Black excellence knows no boundary. You all have been powerful people, so you can still translate that powerfulness across the Atlantic, which is what you just did and other people have been doing over time. So that should not be your challenge or your storming block. So this is just a short story. This trying to tell you about Priscilla, right? Priscilla is a young girl that was enslaved on the continent in 1756. In this same April 9 of 1756, this girl was involuntarily trafficked across the Atlantic to Charleston, and she was sold on the auction block by Ball, right? Elias Ball had this slave plantation in Comington. So they bought this lady. And today, in recent time, over 200 years, there are still families that trace their connection to this. If you look at the South Carolina Tourmaline police story, this is Priscilla's empirical evidence of a young girl going there and producing that descendant. So this is how history is being used as fact to shape our knowledge of ourselves as a people. So we did a small book check. So I know once we share this, people will use some of these as research materials to shape their understanding of their history, their life, and their living patterns. Thank you for listening.